What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Notes for Notes podcast.
Hello,
You heard in
hello.
the intro, the podcast where we talk to interesting people about interesting things while also finding out interesting things about those interesting people. I am your host, Tae, and with me, as always, your other host, Cam.
Cam, I am. No, gosh darn it.
He meant no green eggs and ham, but today we're going to be talking to the amazing, swagged out Gigi Rowe. She's a colorful artist who's been rocking wigs since her Starbucks days. She even received an award in 2010.
Yeah,
Cam,
actually the Holy Prize at the Songwriters Hall of Fame.
what an achievement.
Wow, the Holy Prize.
The Holy Prize. She's also gotten big notoriety after being immortalized, being put in the 2017 and 2018 version of Just Dance. Now, that's how you know you've made it.
Oh, very much so.
At least by my standards,
Yes,
I'd say.
by your standards.
In this episode, we talked to her about her recently released lyric video and children's book, both titled Wishes. Talked to her about the color choices that she used because I gotta say, it's like a rainbow threw up in the best possible way.
In the best possible way.
Cammy, why don't you tell them where they can find these things?
Yeah, you can find the lyric video on YouTube. Just type in Gigi Rowe Wishes and you'll be able to find it. And then also her book is available on Amazon and Kindle. So definitely check that out.
Got a lot of messages in this podcast, guys, so let's dive on in. Welcome to the Notes for Notes podcast. We talk to interesting people about interesting things
In music.
while also finding out interesting things about those interesting people.
And their music.
Confused? It's not that complicated. You see, the thing is...
Yo, we got to get back to it.
Yeah, you're right. I'm Tay, he's Cam, by the way.
How are
Yeah.
you?
Hi.
It is so nice to meet you guys. Thank you so much for doing this.
Yeah,
Yeah,
great
for
to meet
sure.
you too.
Awesome. Thank you. How are you guys doing?
I'm doing good.
Amazing.
The weather's nice, so it just makes for an even better day. you know?
Yes. Where are you guys located?
We're both in Nashville. actually.
Oh, very cool. I'm in the Miami area right now,
Nice.
but
Nice.
I've lived in Nashville. So
Yeah,
I
I
know
saw that.
very well.
Cool. How did you like Nashville, I guess, when you were here?
I love Nashville. I feel like Nashville has that perfect mix of being like small town. You run into people you know everywhere. And it also has that cosmopolitan aspect of a city.
Kind of
For
like,
sure.
I guess that's what they kind of say, like Texas is like in New York or Staten Island. Like everyone knows everyone.
I love that. Yeah, it is. It does have that nice feeling. Like I remember going out one day and seeing like 10 different people that I knew. And I actually used to work at the Starbucks at the Green Hills Mall.
Oh, really?
What?
Mhm.
What?
That's
I've
crazy.
totally gone there.
I was barista and I love wearing wigs and I would wear like tons of different wigs to work at Starbucks. And at that time, the rules were you couldn't have like crazy colored hair. I think actually the rules have changed since then.
Hmm.
So I couldn't wear like my like hot pink wigs, but I could do like curls, like a pinup girl wig or
Yeah.
sort of like a copperish brown color or, a black bob or even like something like this. So I would have a lot of fun and I would definitely mix it up.
I wonder why they would put like put a pause
Restriction
on those certain
yeah.
colors.
Yeah, that's a good question. And there's probably reasons why they've changed it. I feel like they've become much more just
Accepting.
open to people
Yeah.
expressing their individuality and maybe
For sure.
celebrating that more. And at the time, I think that the idea was they wanted hair colors to be sort of like what a natural or a normal hair color would be.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like it didn't seem like a crazy policy at the time, and I could
Right.
still sort of be myself within that. But I think it's a really good thing that they seem even more accepting, and I think it's a great thing that people can come to work and showcase who they are and be themselves, and they can still be, professional and represent Starbucks. And I actually think that the idea, it was really interesting for me because one of the things I'm sure we'll talk about is the idea of building a brand.
Mhm.
So from that perspective, it was really interesting at the ground level to understand what a massive brand like Starbucks, what their ethos is. The idea is if you have your home and you have your work and then you have another place that you feel equally as at home. So I thought that was really, interesting. And I love that you are able to connect with people the best when you're being yourself.
Yeah.
So for them to kind of get back to our original point, for them to celebrate, hey, like we want you to come to work, but we want you to like really be yourself, because that's how you're going to engage with customers in the best way. There was a wonderful manager at the time at the store who was like lovely and was like, hey, you're looking for a job, met me in like disco pants and my like outrageous outfit and outrageous look. And she was like, hey, like if you're looking for a job, like you should apply here. So I felt from the get-go that sense of, understanding. And
That's awesome.
and that's people who I worked with, and particularly the manager, was actually like a genuine fan and loved Gigi Rowe. And it was a really interesting time for me, actually, because I had just moved from Los Angeles and was just starting to like kind of like create Gigi Rowe.
Mm-hmm.
So I moved to a new city, and everyone who met me as Gigi instead of my real name, which is Laura. So suddenly it was like new city, like not a new identity, but this ability to kind of start fresh and really woodshed Gigi Rowe in like this very cool, organic way, because everyone was meeting me for the first time. So suddenly it becomes like, oh, this is Gigi Rowe, and there's no knowledge of any other name. So suddenly it's like, oh, well, of course you're Gigi. And kind of from that moment on, that was like a turning point.
Gotcha. Is that sort of like when you started like creating music?
So music for me, I think I've been like making music since I was in my crib. I would like wake up in the middle of the night, sing songs like Mary Had a Little Lamb or Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star at the top of my lungs, wake up the entire house. And then I'd like go back to sleep, and then like nobody else could fall back asleep. And my grandfather would come and visit, and he would just be like, so like, what's it going to be tonight, Laura? And I love doing these like little impromptu shows. Those I don't actually remember. Those were told to me by family members.
Right.
But I do remember being 5 and getting to sing I Saw Mommy Kissing Santa Claus in front of the whole school. So it was like 500 people. And I got into my mom's like bright red lipstick and was rocking this like velvet dress with the rose and the white collar. And
Oh, nice.
I always had it in me. I think this love of entertaining, of understanding from a really young age, sort of the power in that, of how you can connect with people, something so simple, a song, or how moving that can be, or the energy exchange. And I think once you feel that, you're sort of like, it's like electricity, and you kind of, you're just trying to always get at that feeling.
Yeah, it's almost like you can't get enough of it. Yeah, for sure.
Totally. And I think that sort of have been like, chasing that in a way ever since. That sense of, it's that feeling, it's that sense of chasing, like I love to say, I'm kind of like chasing like greatness, like this sense of like wanting to do something that's like epic. And I think it's definitely taken me on a lot of like twists and turns, and it's this crazy journey, but it's so cool. It's like led me to this conversation today.
So Cam, I was sitting at home and I was thinking to myself, I'm kind of tired of using my laptop to make music.
Oh,
I want to
really?
use something that is more smaller, more compact, and more portable.
Uh-huh. And
So
what came to mind?
I whipped out my Orba.
Wait. What's an Orba?
It's basically like a portable production system.
Ooh.
It's a small, almost palm of your hand like product that you can take anywhere and you can produce with it. The company Artifin sent me one, and I have not stopped using it ever since. And just a big shout out to them for sending me that product. I love it. I continue to use it every day, and it's amazing. Thank you guys so much.
I want to talk about your swag because I love it so much. It's colorful, it's vibrant, it's like out there. I just want to know, like, clearly the music came first, But when did the swag really take hold? Like the clothes, the wigs, I know you talk about the wigs at Starbucks, but like what was the point where you were like, I'm gonna do this because this is tight. Like
I'm like, please keep talking. Don't stop.
right.
Well, first of all, thank you. The fact that
Sure.
the fact that you think it's like, that I have like swag, or like the fact that you're into it is like love it. I appreciate it. I just like love it. I love fashion, and I have so much fun with the wigs, and I love just every aspect of it. There's a part of me where I'm so inspired by just wearing different things, and it pulls out kind of different like characters in me, and I have so much fun with it. And I think that it's, to like really answer your question, even though I love it and I'm so inspired by it, it's still kind of a daily thing. How can I push this further? Like, is this like really who I am? Like, almost this kind of sense of, am I putting on something because I'm like trying to hide something, or am I putting on something because it's making me more of who I really am? And I feel like that's been kind of a constant question as I've been like working to woodshed Gigi Rowe. I like the idea that Gigi Rowe for me was this blank creative canvas that every day, like I could just like go paint on this canvas however I wanted, and to free me up to do what it is that I love to do the most. Like, be an artist, like make things, like the things that we do when we're a kid that we don't think about, like to carry that on throughout your whole life and be like, I'm inspired to like, I'm going to write this, and like, this means something. I want to go share it with people. I'm going to go paint this picture. I'm going to go create a character, like the things again that come naturally to us. I feel like in a way, Gigi Rowe is the title of all of this. And I want to free myself up creatively, and hopefully in the process, inspire other people to, to do the same and to feel empowered in the same way. And I think like the swag or whatever, my personality, I'm sure that was the girl in the crib singing in the middle of the night. So I'm sure that that's been in me, for as long as I can remember, but at different times in different chapters or seasons, when you're more or less confident, that's reflected in the swag. When you're like, oh, like shoulders are back, like I am like feeling my look. I feel like that's the truest expression of all of us. But we all have those moments where, for whatever reason, we're less confident, we're more unsure, and I've seen how in myself, like that's reflected in the fashion, in the style, in the attitude.
Me and Cam both read the entire book. Me personally, I love the book. It kind of reminded me of the books that I would read when I was a kid, like the Colorful Fish. Brought me back to like the days where I would go to the library and just read all the books. I love the art, and for me, I like reading, but I'm also, as like we all are in this call, I'm a creator, so I love looking at colors. I love looking at pictures. I love looking at visual representations of like what I'm reading, and I felt like your book really did that on like another level. Did you do the art? I wanted to ask you that. Did you you did the art for the whole book?
Well, first of all, thank you so much. I love hearing you talk about the book. That's awesome. And I'm glad that you got so much out of it. I worked with an illustrator, and meeting or connecting with my illustrator, she's actually in Belarus. So she's in Eastern Europe. And after connecting with my publishing company, someone recommended that I go on this website. It's called Fiverr. Not sure if you've ever heard of it, but it's Fiverr. Really incredible space that aggregates freelancers. So someone who does graphic design or illustration or web design, or could write copy, could do animation, like anything you could think of, you can find people on Fiverr. And I immediately went to Fiverr and kind of shortlisted some people whose animations, and not animation, sorry, we're not on that part of the talk. I'm like, we're doing animation too. I shortlisted some illustrators that I loved. And her name is Liza, the illustrator that I wound up working with. And she was my first choice because I found a particular illustration of hers where I was like, yes, like that is inspiring. That is like the vibe for what I'm looking for Gigi Rowe. And so I reached out to her. She got back to me immediately. And this was like Valentine's Day weekend, like last year in February. And that was the beginning of what would become this very inspiring creative collaboration, which was so rewarding for me after working with a lot of producers in the studio and coming from music and having a lot of different collaborative experiences with other songwriters or producers in that world, to then go to this other medium and get to work with, an illustrator. And it was like so much fun. It felt like I was in Los Angeles for a lot of this time. And the time difference was like 10 hours or something. So oftentimes I'd like go to sleep and then I'd wake up to like another illustration that Liza was sending or another sketch. And it felt like every single time it was like magic, because I've never had an actual conversation with her. It's all been just back and forth connecting, via Fiverr or email, and sending her links or describing things that I'm looking for, sending her stories and sending her pictures, like reference pictures of me, music videos. Like this is like kind of what we're trying to get at. And it's been pretty much, the process it's taken a little bit over, it's about a year from when we started working together. We finished this first book. It was so much fun.
Liza, if you are listening from Belarus, we are giving you your flowers because you got the vibes.
I love that. Oh, real quick with the swag thing, I do have to tell you a story. So I was signed really early on to by LA Reid, and Jay-Z was an executive at Island Def Jam. This was like way back. I was Laura Warshauer, singer-songwriter with a guitar. LA Reid came out to see me on a Sunday night, had his like hands in the air, going nuts, like Hollywood moment. He's like, if you want it, you have a home with Island Records. And so very early on, I got a front row seat to the highs and lows of the music industry. And I got the chance to actually perform for Jay-Z, who was an executive at the time. And when I first met Jay, I had this like outfit on that actually belonged to my grandmother, and she probably wore it in the 1970s. It was like very Janis Joplin, had every color, had like gold sequins and flowy arms. It was like a one piece, but it had flowy arms and like flowy, like, legs. And right when I was introduced to Jay, he was like, I like your getup. And I was like, drop the mic. And then like a while later, I was in Los Angeles. I was in New York City. I was in Los Angeles at a Grammy after party. And Jay was there, and my A&R at the time, who worked with him, was like, Jay, you remember Laura? And I'm thinking like, this guy is going to have no idea who I am. And he just looked me like straight in the eye, and he was like, you are fantastically talented. And I was like, okay, I think I like levitated. I think feet like officially left the ground. But that was like an incredible moment. And when you were so kind and talking about swag or style or fashion, it brought me back to that. I figured you'd like that story.
For me, like I love, like I said, I love colors. I've talked about this in a previous podcast, but we were talking about how creativity kind of shifts to a focused point as you're older. And for me, I felt like it kind of reversed. Like growing up, I was all about music, but like now that I'm older, I'm into music, art. I just started making my own clothing brand, with this what I'm wearing right now. Yeah.
Let me see it. I'm like, let me see more of that.
Yeah,
that's cool. That's really cool.
The name of the brand is Lame.
How did you come up with that?
I took inspiration, like the emblem from the Kids Next Door, but I always had the L in mind and then the Lame as the name in mind. But it wasn't until like last year, a friend asked me, he was like, well, what's the meaning behind it? And I never really thought about it until I took the time to like think about it, think of some more designs, and then I was just like, what's something that I think would fit with it that also applies to me? And then I started like thinking about like growing up, the stuff that I like would go through, like sitting alone at like lunch tables and being okay with it, hanging out with the unpopular kids and like not even entertaining what the popular kids are doing, staying in my own lane and like trying to just be me and being okay with that. And I eventually came up with the meaning that perfection is an insecurity, like striving to be perfect. You're just gonna let yourself down in the end because no one is perfect.
Yeah, it's
So
so true.
yeah, that was kind of the meaning behind it. And like another one is I'd rather be lame than perfect because when you're perfect, you're unrelatable. No one wants to be friends with a perfect kid because then
Totally.
they just gonna try and like strive to be that and let themselves down.
I love it. Well, it's so cool how you've taken your experiences and you're obviously reflecting it through your art, and that you're letting yourself just go into these different areas and not. I think we can all get caught up in questioning things, or
For sure.
it's like we don't want the world or other people to put us in a box, but it's easy sometimes to put ourselves in a box or be like, oh, I did this. So like, oh, well, maybe I am that. Or no, maybe that's just something I did. Or like, is this who I am? Or maybe none of it's like your identity. Maybe we're just all like, things come through us and we get to explore a lot of different things. And I think I always know for myself, the more, hey, you want to be thoughtful about things, but there is overthinking is a real thing. And the more that you do and allow yourself to just kind of keep that channel open and create and act through that, as opposed to questioning things and
For sure.
overthinking things. And it seems like you're naturally there. So you are way ahead of the game.
Hello, everybody. Jeff Goldblum here. The boys have taken a break, and I just came here to tell you about Notes for Notes Digital. And my. What I must say about it is, what a fun and juicy experience that I've had. Me and my associate Rick, or as I like to call him, RJag. We've been experimenting with all of the staff and program directors that have been on there, and it's been really fun. After Apartments.com and I decided to settle down somewhere, me and Rick met each other, and we've been roommates ever since. Why don't you tell them about the website, Rick? Oh.
Yeah, thanks for the intro, Jeff. Yeah, it's been great. I can say that I've learned a lot, I love music, and I love everything about music, and I think that I'll do music for the rest of my life because of Notes for Notes.
Oh, exactly. Yes, and me being a astounding jazz singer, as you might know, I play the piano. I play the and a whole bunch of other exciting things. But let's get back to the podcast and let these two crazy cats get at it. Ooh.
That's awesome. Yeah, no, and I feel like that's a good segue into sort of my question that I wanted to ask you, because we're talking about creating. Of course, you've been creating music for a while now, and you have a new single that's coming out on the 30th,
I do.
right? How did you sort of venture into sort of making this book?
I have always wanted to, like for a really long time, for years now, I've really wanted to publish a children's book. It was kind of became a dream of mine. Don't really know where it came from. Like kind of, it was like a spark. Like one night I was like, I'm going to write a children's book. I really like that idea. Like, why shouldn't I do that? That makes a lot of sense. And then I started kind of trying to write some stories and kind of dialed in what I felt like was a voice for the books, like just like you have a voice for your songs. And what I loved about it from the start was that it made me feel like when I was 14 and wrote my first song, and how that felt like it gave me this unique identity. And I was really excited to go out into the world and be like, hi, like I'm a songwriter. Like it was me and my guitar, and I was like, hi, like I'm a songwriter, like want to hear a song? And that felt like a really authentic way to engage with the world. And then writing these children's books, I think whatever I've done, any songs or poetry or now stories, there's a simplicity to what I do, how I approach things. But if you kind of like a turn of phrase, or like if you can have something that's really simple and everybody can understand and hopefully relate to in a way, but you have your own spin on it somehow, and you're able to tap into that underlying emotion, I feel like that's where the magic is. Because you could be writing, your inspiration can come from anything. You can know what your own inspirations are. The world doesn't necessarily need to know that, because everybody can assign their own meaning to what you're putting out. But if you can somehow capture like that underlying emotion, that's what makes it universal. That's what makes it relatable.
For sure. I mean, because art is just art in general, right? So anybody can sort of take it how they want to. They can interpret it however it comes to them. But yeah, my second question was sort of like, in your opinion, what sets your book apart from other children's books?
Because it's the best children's book ever written.
Harry, come on. Let's go.
Wait for the release date. It's coming out. Then you got to get it.
Because the world has never seen something like it ever in the history of all mankind.
No, there's only one Gigi Rowe, you know?
Yeah, you know.
I mean, so I say that like, I say that a bit like tongue in cheek, obviously. And I think that it's really fun for me to explore just everything that I'm doing with Gigi Rowe to kind of hopefully like put that magic in a children's book. And I always imagine, I was like, Gigi Rowe, like that's a cool like pop star persona. But I feel like Gigi, like she comes from her own world, and that's a world high up in the clouds, and it's magical, and she flies around in her, pink convertible, and, talk back to the swag, like this character, like she's got swag, like she's going to like do her own thing and kind of spread joy and positivity and have adventures in the process. So I always, from the get-go, I love the idea that Gigi Rowe comes from her own world, that she doesn't have to be this girl who came from New Jersey. There's nothing wrong with that. That's great. That's my story. But like Gigi Rowe can have her own story. And what if her father's a man from the future and her mother is a vintage Hollywood movie star, and she can travel back and forth in time? And that's actually things that I'm exploring for a possible animated series. But this book was meant to introduce a literary character. I was very inspired by characters that I grew up with. Like, I'm sure we all have them. Like, I know you mentioned a children's book that you remember, or that this kind of brought back memories of. For me, it was characters like Madeline, who is French and has red hair, and she gets her appendix out, and she's like kind of feisty. And then a character, Eloise, who lives at the Plaza in New York City. And these characters are larger than life, and they stay with you. And I also remember the magic of like getting a Madeline doll, and she had like, because she had her appendix out in the doll, you can see like a stitch, like, and it felt like this sort of secret, like, I just loved how this doll came into real life from this book. And there was something about that was just memorable. And I felt like Gigi Rowe to me is so much bigger than me. And that's what I feel like this chapter is really about, is putting a character, an idea, essentially a brand into the world that is truly so much bigger than me. But at the same time, it is so much fun to like go through the world as Gigi Rowe. And I feel like first and foremost, like I'm a fan. Like I wanted to create something that I'm a fan of. Mm-hmm. And in a world where it's like there's no limits, and like Gigi Rowe, she's fabulous, and she's glamorous, and she has the life that like I imagine in my head that like realistically is like not always my life. You have moments of like moments of it or tastes of it, but I'm like, oh, but like Gigi Rowe, like she's off, and she's doing this, and she's doing that, and she's in Paris, and she's in Rome, and she's in London, and she's fabulous. And look at her like glittery closet, and look at like, you can see how I put all of my glamorized, romanticized ideals of life kind of within the pages of this children's book. And it's meant to be that kind of magical, inspiring message that like, hey, it is powerful to envision what you want in your life. Mm-hmm. And that's oftentimes like the first step in making it a reality, and just being able to see it, you're one step closer.
But yeah, it definitely encourages like, dreaming, like following your dreams, and the magic of, what dreams can do in your life. Like, just imagining a happy place where you want to be just can make it could brighten your day. It could brighten your week. It could brighten a whole year, right? I mean, it could inspire so many other things. I think
Totally.
that's awesome.
No, I think you've really like articulated what I was trying. It's like awesome. I'm like, yeah, cool. Maybe it's like actually like working. What the feeling for me of getting these illustrations and being like, oh, it's like it kind of gave me that like, ooh, this is fun. This is cool. Like I want to live there. That's amazing. That's incredible to see it brought to life in that way. If it can give other people that same sensibility, then I love it. Then yay.
Yeah. So for all the kids listening, tell your parents that you want this book, so you can really get inspired, and follow your dreams. I think that's an awesome thing.
I
Definitely
love
encourage
it.
that.
It's definitely like really about the power of the imagination. And I think in this past year where a lot of us were told to like, okay, stay home, stay inside, you're
Stay in
not
your
like
box.
out and
Yeah.
about. I think understanding that to let our imaginations kind of run wild and run free, and you can be anywhere, and what that represents and the doors that that could unlock and the places that that can really take you without physically having to go anywhere.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
I was actually having a conversation with somebody just about, I mean, music really, but art in general. It's like you can be like, especially if we're talking about, the pandemic and sort of being stuck in our houses, stuck in sort of like maybe one room or something like that. Art has a way of uh, letting you escape. Like even if you're watching somebody else's art, like you say you're watching a movie or you're watching a video or you're listening to music, like it has that ability to take you to a totally different place, to sort of help you release all of the or find release from all those things that are sort of maybe weighing you down, or maybe that are kind of dark, in your
Definitely.
life. I feel like music for sure for me, I guess, personally, is really one of those outlets. And that's what, Notes for Notes offers, of course, is like a space where these youth can come in and they can record their own music, they can record their own ideas, but not just in the studio. It's bigger than the studio, just like you were saying. Gigi is bigger than just you. It's bigger than just a book. It's bigger than just the music. It's this whole this dream that is put together, and you're able to almost live through it, right? You're almost able to live with it. I think
Yeah,
that's really awesome.
absolutely. No, that's incredible. How did you first connect with Notes for Notes?
I was a youth, along with Tae. I was a
Same.
youth when I was 18. I'm 26 now, but yeah, I was 18 and just got invited to the studio. I was with a friend, and we showed up to the studio probably the next day after we were invited, and we were just mind blown that there was actually a studio that we could walk into, and it was free, and we could sort of, because I mean, prior to that we were making music out of like I think we had a microphone inside like a fish tank, and it was just like, we were
Hey, gotta get creative.
trying to make it happen. Our ideas were definitely bigger than what we were recording on. And then once we stepped into the studio, that I actually run now, once we stepped into that studio, it was like part of our dreams came true in that moment, but also there was like this whole other world that we had to discover. It was like we were on a whole nother adventure, I guess, in a way. And so yeah, ever since then I haven't been able to leave the studio. um
Amazing.
yeah, and so yeah, Tay has done the same. He actually started in, what was it, 6th grade, I believe.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
the same year that I started going to the studio was also the same year I started choir, and my choir teacher, I kind of like to call him my reverse Mr. Feeney, because I followed him through high school. So my 6th grade to sophomore year, I was in choir, but I was also going to the studio after school on the days I didn't have like choir rehearsal. And sophomore year, I kind of just had a dilemma where I was like, do I wanna follow my dreams or live somebody else's and be a part of this group that I know I'm probably not gonna not gonna thrive in. And so I made the decision. I switched high schools, and I started interning at the studio on Tuesdays and Thursdays while also going on days that I wasn't like working at Kroger because that's where I work now.
That's
Um,
awesome.
and yeah, last year, what was it, like November, right? I said I was 17. I'm 18 now, but I got hired as the official like podcast host, and now I've been running it ever since.
That's incredible. Well, you guys are both so great at what you do. So it's awesome to connect and hear more of your stories. So what kind of music do you like to work on when you're in the studio?
Me, I don't stick to one. My taste is like diverse, so like making it's also diverse. And by the way, sometimes I don't some of the tracks that I make are not good, but like that's like the fun of it because I'm just like, well, that was fun. I probably
Totally.
won't do it
I've done a
again,
bunch
but
of
like
those.
yeah, like I tried to make a rock track. Did it work? No. But I tried it because like I listen to Queen, I listen to Bowie, I listen to
Yes.
Rolling Stones, Aerosmith. I listen to rock stars, but I also listen to country people too. I listen to Johnny Cash, Conway Twitty. Um, I listen to Anne Murray. She's not a country artist, but
Oh my God. So Anne
Anne
Murray.
Murray.
Okay, so the song Could I Have This Dance? That was
Yeah,
my grandmother's favorite song. So when I was like,
that's crazy.
probably 7, I learned that song and would sing it for at like every family party. I would get up and like serenade my family because it was my grandmother's favorite. My grandparents took me to see Anne Murray when I was little at
What?
it was called the Garden State Arts Center. It's now called the PNC Bank Arts Center in New Jersey. And it was, an incredible experience in this outdoor amphitheater. And probably one of my first experiences with being at a live performance. And then we're like, what do you think? There was like an intermission. And then we're like, what do you think she's going to wear when she comes out on stage for the second half? And then at a certain point, my grandparents were like, okay, so we're going to leave and we're going to beat the traffic. But we hadn't heard her sing like that song yet. So we're walking in the parking lot and then we heard her start singing that song.
Oh,
But it was epic. And so obviously,
I bring her up on the podcast all the time just because we always talk about like how music taste and attention spans and stuff like that is like changed over time, which is like really, really to me it sucks because like music is like meant to be enjoyed and experienced, not something to just pass the time. But I feel like over like the course of like the past like decade, that's kind of what it's transitioned to. I don't see like a lot of people bumping in their cars jamming out just because. I see people like just blank stares or people listen to music just to pass the time when they're at work. And I think that's like kind of, it sucks, it really does. And I think that also applies to like books and versus technology. Like my little brother, he like does not read at all. He plays video games like all the time. He's 10 and I'm just like, bro, you should read books. Like I got him like books that I was into. I was into anime when I was younger, still am. I gave him all of my Naruto books and he just like doesn't read them. He used one of the books as a TV stand.
oh
I
no.
I felt disrespected.
How
But
dare
like,
he?
yeah, I was just like, come on, bro. Like somebody gave you that as a gift and you just gonna use it as a support system. Like, come on, read a book. Like, that's like I just don't get it.
And at the same time, like somebody really put their feelings and their emotions into that book,
Right.
Yeah,
Bro, like that's
for sure.
exactly how I feel with like Going outside, I feel like everyone is born an artist because we all have imagination when we're at a young age, but at some point in our lives, the ultimatum has to be made, like, are we gonna keep being a creative, or are we gonna start being a part of the system where we just work and work and work and be okay with it, or are we gonna be the people who stand out? Nowadays I feel like people who are my age kind of, they want to stand out, but they want to do it for the wrong reasons.
Interesting.
um
That's a really perceptive comment.
yeah, I think because, like, when we're kids, we play with toys even when we're alone. Like, I was an only child for 8 years of my life, and I remember playing and being uh in the zone, having wars and stuff with my toys and stuff like that. Nowadays kids don't even play with toys, kids don't go outside. Yeah, it's because of a pandemic, but also I think, like, before then it really wasn't a normal or common thing as much as it was when I know it sounds cliche, but I guess when we were younger, even though I'm 18, but like,
You're
but like
a
still,
very you're an old soul. I would say both of
I
you are old souls,
yeah, I
and I say that
just
in the best of ways. You seem to have just a lot of wisdom and like life experience. I'm a firm believer that age is, I love that I get to talk to people of all different ages and generations all the time.
same. Yeah,
Yeah.
same. I love talking to like people that are in their 70s. Like, I work with this lady at my job called her name's Claudia, and she just like talks about stories of like how she's been to San Francisco for she lived in San Francisco for 20 years. So she has like 20 years worth of stories of like when she was in San Francisco going to concerts and like just living life and living in a moment.
That's
I love
incredible.
like listening to stories like that. So, and I try and apply that to like my life too. Like, I love going to like music festivals and stuff like that. I went to Bonnaroo in 2018. Changed my life. It was so fun. It was so fun.
What about it changed your life?
I had never been to a music festival. I hadn't really seen like live performances like that. And also because like I was in a section that most people at the festival don't really get to be in. I got to be in the artist section because of Notes for Notes. So I got to like work with, well, not work with, but I got to sit in the studio and like watch Billie Eilish and like Phineas and like all of them like work. Chance the Rapper walked right past me. It was cool. I like, the coolest thing about it was I had just watched her perform on stage, and then she was like in front of me, like inches, which was like
That's
crazy.
amazing. Yeah, I feel like that what an experience to have. And it seems like both of you have that incredible ability to recognize like just the moments and the value in what you're getting to be a part of. And both at like really like such young ages too, which will serve you for your entire life. And to be able to appreciate it and like kind of take a moment to really take it in. And that's like such an that's I feel like that really gives just your life experience it's such a rich way to live when you can talk to me about someone you work with at Kroger and the value in the stories that you're getting and then hanging out essentially with like Billie Eilish, and like understanding the value in both of those situations equally and how they can change your life and your perspective and give you ideas. And I think it's really special. I'm fully convinced the world needs more people like both of you.
And I think what is so fun about like meeting her was like she's like literally just like all of us. We're all like humans. Yeah, she has the title of a celebrity, but like she was just like me, just a
Yeah.
17-year-old like kid geeking out over jewelry and like clothes and stuff like that. Like, who wouldn't? You hear it all the time, celebrities are human, but like to like sit there and like have that realization for yourself was like pretty like more eye-opening than just like hearing it your whole life.
Yeah, and I
Totally.
I
mean,
thought that was
for
pretty cool.
her and her brother, like it started in their bedroom. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Like, come on. Like they went from the bedroom to the big stage.
Mhm.
That's dope.
Yeah, like the fact that they're living that dream, just lets you know that like it's possible
It is
for
totally
anybody.
possible. And I think that to just like keep your eyes open, stay inspired, to like continue, to find that magic
Hmm.
and listen to your own inspirations and intuitions, and things happen or things come together at different. There's no roadmap and there are no rules of like, hey, it's really cool. Like, it's amazing when someone as a teenager is on the world stage. That, but it can happen at any age,
Right.
at any time. And I think if you just stay open to your inspirations, the world, anything is possible in the world. And I think staying true to that and understanding that, and that's not always easy because oftentimes, you know, we all have dark moments, we all have dark chapters, and to be able to, still kind of just believe in yourself, believe in what you're doing, believe in your journey. Because I mean, I've experienced where you have like the dream record deal and then it doesn't work out. It's just not the right timing. Like it just becomes clear no matter how hard you work to make something happen, there's got to be that little like pixie dust or magic or like nod from the universe to kind of get momentum happening.
Mm-hmm.
And had a number of different experiences like that, and you can either look at it like, oh, like that didn't work out, or you can be like, every single one of those was actually a stepping stone to exactly where I was meant to be this entire time. And just because it might take a little longer, or that doesn't make it any less valuable, or it's just my story. And the more that I like make the decision every day to own that, and every person makes the decision to like own that and look towards the future, I think that's key. And it seems like both of you are already, just in that mode, for where you're at now. And it's really incredible. It's incredible to hear both of you speak. And I'm like excited. I'm inspired.
Well, same to you for sure. Same to you.
Yeah, absolutely. Like always, I love doing the podcast just because I love like talking to people, not only about like the stuff that they have going on in their life, but just about like life in general.
It's really inspiring to hear both of you talk. And it's obvious that you guys are giving so much, to your community, to obviously Notes for Notes, to the world, and have just so much to give. So I'm excited to see both of you and your journeys.
We're definitely excited to for your release of
Thank
Gigi,
you.
and to see just how that grows and how that inspires others.
Thank you both so much. It was incredible to get to speak with you, and thanks for taking the time. And I really appreciate you delving into the Gigi Rowe world and all your insightful, supportive comments. I know that I look forward to, Notes for Notes was just recently put on my radar. So excited that I'm doing the podcast, and I look forward to future collaborations and future ways of getting to work with Notes for Notes and amazing people like both of you.
Hope you enjoyed our very first episode of the Notes for Notes podcast. We had a really fun time thanks to Gigi, and we're going to take this time to talk about a segment that we're going to be implementing in every podcast, which will be a younger artist interview. We're going to be talking to artists that are in the Notes for Notes organization who've been with us for a long time and also a short time. Today we're going to be talking to a good friend of mine and Cam's, Javon Owens. He's a producer who's helped produce many tracks through the Notes for Notes organization. And here we go. Today I'm with Von, or Kid Vonny. I know him by Von. I met him a while ago. We've been friends for a hot minute. Von, tell the people about yourself and what keeps you going in the music industry? What drives you? What gets you out of bed? What motivates you to do the things that you do as a producer?
Yeah, for sure. So I could say that I really started getting interested in music about a year ago. It really first started. The influence of music really came from like years back. I used to like sit in the kitchen with my uncle, and he used to play beats for me all the time, and I can say that I loved it. And at some point, it just influenced me. Like, man, that's what I want to do. And like I was always like, he would play rap music and stuff. I think at the time it was like the X had came, like the Look at Me had came out, and that was popping everywhere.
Fire.
Yeah, for
All
sure.
by X.
Yeah.
I
So
remember
you already
that, yeah.
know
That was fire.
everybody was on that. So I was like, yeah, man, this is really some stuff that I wanted to do. And I mean, at the time, I could say like I really wasn't like really focused on anything. I mean, I played sports as a kid, like I was playing football and stuff like that, but I really never had nothing that I like wanted to focus on until like that time, and I was like, yeah, that's what I want to do. So it's been up since.
Yeah, that was gonna be one of my first questions I was gonna ask you after you told me a little bit about yourself. You said you played sports, so I'm interested to know, was like music always your first choice? I know you grew up on it, but like how sometimes you grow up around one thing and you have these avenues that can connect you to this type of career, but there are also outside sources that kind of influence you and maybe divert you to another path. So I'm interested to know if like music was like always what you wanted to do, or was there some other like career that like interested you?
Yeah, so music wasn't like always in my life. So like when I was in elementary school, I was always known for being an artist.
For sure.
Like I would go around like in art class, like if they wanted the assignments done, it was like, Vaughn, go draw this for me,
Exactly. Yeah.
So like I remember coming out of like elementary school, my art teacher, love for the deaf, is black. She had signed me up for like the governor's art show.
For sure.
Yeah, and I think the painting, it was like a landscape, and I mean, at that time, that was when I like really started to see and like hear about what the art industry was like, about how like if it gets to that point, I don't really enjoy it, like
Right.
I'd just be making art for like other people and not enjoying it myself.
Right.
And so like after that, that's when I really started getting into sports. I had a lot of friends that was into like football and basketball and stuff, and that kind of influenced me. But I could see myself still playing football to this day.
For
but
sure.
I had got injured around I think it was around my like 5th grade year. Yeah, and I got injured and I quit.
What was the injury?
I had a leg injury. The doctors didn't want me playing, so I had to heal up from that. And it's like I kind of just lost all motivation from it.
For sure.
And I started like branching, like everybody got distant with each other. You know how that go.
Yeah.
So yeah, then to like I said my 7th grade, 8th grade year, I really wasn't focused on anything but my studies and stuff like that. And that was the time where like I was just like hearing music from my uncle, stuff like that. And then that's why I say, yeah, I would focus on that.
What got you into production? Like, cause I know when I first met you, you were a rapper, sort of a
Yeah.
writer. I know you as Javon. We rapped, and I know you were very like a heavy X fan. So like, whenever you'd rap, I'd kind of like get that like vibe from you. So like, what was the transition from rapper to producer, and when did that come to be?
I could say, like, yeah, when we were into the like when we first met, I was into like the rapping stuff, and I mean, it was kind of just like I wanted to have fun,
For sure.
cause like then it really wasn't that serious to me like
Exactly,
it was
yeah.
now. Yeah. So it was just like I was just having fun, kids gonna have fun.
Yep.
So, but then like my uncle, he started like showing me the ropes, and I was like, man, this kind of lit. Like maybe I want to do this. So, and I did that, and I think like I had got my first computer. It was like my mom had gave me her old HP,
Mhm.
You gotta start somewhere.
Yep.
And I was just, yeah, my beats were trash, but you know, like he was just teaching me. He was like, yeah, bro, that's hard. And I mean, I was rapping back then. Like we used to freestyle like in the kitchen type
Yep.
stuff. But like, I feel like I just gravitated towards the production side because I feel like that's where I want to be, you know?
Facts.
Yeah.
Yeah, bro. So I know that from what I see you produce, it's mostly like trap, if I'm correct, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So I'm interested to know, like, I know you've been producing for a good while now. What's another genre of production you'd like love to explore,
Yeah,
or
speaking
that
of
you
that,
are exploring?
yeah.
Better.
I remember about like 2-3 months ago when I was still at the old Boys and Girls Club.
Andrew Jackson.
Yeah,
right?
Andrew Jackson. Yeah, I had got into contact with one of my homies' cousins, and he was like, you know, he from the country, so it was like, yo, I wanna make some like hybrid music, like some country and like hip hop type stuff, and I was like, yo, that's what's up.
Kind of like a little Nas vibe.
Yeah, for sure. But that
Fire.
was like way before the time. So I mean,
Right.
if we would have went with that,
You know,
it would
but,
have been up. But yeah, I remember like trying as little as I did to try to learn how to play the guitar, knowing that I wasn't gonna be on like, you know, no country vibes
Yeah,
already.
fire.
But
Yeah.
I mean, I've been trying to like stay away from like just the trap. You know, I've been talking to a lot of people and like communicating with a lot of people that's outside of like hip hop and stuff like that. I really want to get into like the pop and R&B side of things, you know.
For sure, yeah.
Yeah.
That's what's like popping, sort of like nowadays. It's kind of like, I mean, trap is like there, but it's kind of like R&B and like pop are starting to come back into the mix a little bit.
Yeah.
I feel that for sure.
Yeah.
So I know you like collaborate with a lot of people, but I'm wondering, for you personally, do you like collaborating more than you do working solo, or is working solo sort of a not a privilege, but like something that you do when you want to just like be in a zone or something like that?
Yeah. So I see it like this. At some point you are gonna have to work solo to like work on your own craft because nobody
Facts.
can tell you how to do your music.
Exactly.
So you're
for
gonna
sure.
have times to where you're gonna have to do your own thing. But I feel like when you're with people and collaborating, I feel like there's like a limitless like,
Possibility.
Yeah, so like you putting different minds together, and it's
Yeah,
like you
for
might
sure.
have this beat. You're like, bro, let me sauce it up real quick, and it'll be like a whole different vibe. You're like, yo, that's hard.
Absolutely.
So I mean, I wouldn't say that I like working solo, which I guess I would prefer it sometimes, but if the opportunity comes to me to where I can get a different mind to see how my music, like I take criticism, like
Yeah.
I do all that. So yeah, I really don't. It's
You're
I'm
kind of
miserable.
hit or miss, I
yeah.
guess. That's a good outlook, man. I'm wondering, kind of staying on track, like piggybacking off of that question, because you like collaborating with others as well as working solo. Who are some people that, as time goes on, when you become like a major producer and people are starting to hit you up, what are some artists or even other producers that you like to work with in the future? Like they can be big, local, indie, anybody that like and other people may not know. Who are like some people that you want to work with?
Yeah, like me, local, it would obviously be like Will, you, Cam,
For sure.
stuff like that. You know,
That's a
yeah,
given.
of course, yeah, of course, very soon.
It's a given.
I've kind of really wanted. I had the kind of mindset of where I wanted to like build myself up with an artist because I've been seeing it a lot lately. Like the first instance I seen of it was like Jetson and DaBaby. Like DaBaby had like been making music, but it really wasn't popping until like you heard them bouncy 808s and crazy melodies from Jetson. And you know they've been going up since, and I've been seeing it a lot with like Nashville artists and stuff like that. With like Ivy and them, like they've been working with a lot of like Tennessee rappers, and you know if they blow up, then they gonna be like, who made that beat, you know? But I've wanted to work with like a lot of producers more than artists, like maybe like like Tae Cam. I want to work like Mafia, like AOA Mafia. But I feel like my list has kind of changed now. I've been influenced by a lot of different producers now. I've been getting into a lot of like Richie South. He produced for like Thug, Gunna, and all them, and it's like yeah, for sure. And it's just like it's crazy. But I honestly I rather prefer working with producers than artists, because it's like artists gonna come around eventually. If they think your music's hard, then they're gonna come around eventually. But I feel like making those bonds with producers.
I guess like producers, you relate to them more because you're in the same field, and within artists. I mean, artists sometimes produce, but primarily an artist is gonna be an artist. They're gonna be in the studio. They're gonna do what they're used to doing, and then they're gonna head out. The producer is gonna do the mixing, the mastering, the beat making, the engineering, the this, the that, and the third. So like, I guess working with a producer would be more suitable for a producer.
Yeah.
Going back to, I know you said you were working in like different genre, working on like the country crossbreed type. So I know you said you would never try and pick up a guitar, but what is an instrument that you would like to learn? Like learn how to hand play, like be it the keys, the drums, didgeridoo, bongo, anything that.
I didn't mention this before, but somebody who really influenced me too is like Kanye.
Yeah, for
and,
sure.
Them. And it's like when I hear it, the sounds is just so like different from what you like hearing like a drum kit.
Exactly.
And so like I've always wanted to get into like the live drum sounds, like how to play the drums or the piano, stuff like that.
For sure.
Yeah, I feel like it just brings a whole different vibe.
Yeah, it's nothing better than live percussion.
For real.
Nothing better than live percussion. Yeah. What are some things that you want to achieve?
I would like to see myself like with not only I would see myself being built up with another artist. Like I would like to have like a couple of songs out with them, having like a community. I would like to build up a community around myself. I would like to have like placements with not only just big artists but small artists too. I want to get my name out there a lot more. Yeah, for sure. I see myself learning a lot more too, like going out of my comfort zone with different types of genres. People. Yeah.
I think, this is a really good interview. It was good talking to you, Von. I can't wait to see what's going on, what happens in the future. I'm excited for you, bro.
For sure.
And this has been the Notes for Notes podcast. Make sure to tune in for our next guest. And hopefully we have Cam on the next one, because I have no idea where he is.
Yeah, he's just gone.
He disappeared.
Poof. And here I am. Again, thank you guys for tuning in for our very first podcast. Just want to give a huge thanks to Gigi Rowe for joining us. If you'd like to check out her new book titled Wishes, which dropped on April 29th, head on over to Amazon, or you can also find it on Kindle. And don't forget to check out her lyric video on YouTube, also titled Wishes. To find out more about her and what she has going on, check out her website, www.hellogigirowe.com. Follow her on Instagram at HelloGigiRowe, and find her music on Spotify, Apple Music, and all other major music streaming platforms. I want to give a huge shout out to Kid Vonny for joining us on the podcast as well. And if you'd like to check out some more of his music, you can head on over to our East Nashville SoundCloud playlist under Notes for Notes. If you want to learn more about the cool music making tool that Tae raves about, the Orba, check out artiphon.com. That's ARTIPHON.com. Thanks to our engineer, Will Flores, and our Notes for Notes podcast executive producer, CEO, and co-founder of Notes for Notes, Phil Gilly. We appreciate you both. To learn more about Notes for Notes, check us out across all socials at Notes for Notes and at notesfornotes.org, where you can find info about our 23 studios across the country, as well as Notes for Notes Digital, which gives young artists the opportunity to work with producers and cut original tracks remotely from wherever they are. This podcast was recorded remote and in person inside our Notes for Notes studio at the Cleveland Park Boys and Girls Club, made possible with support from Metro Arts Nashville. Let's wrap up this podcast with some original music produced by Kid Vonny. This track is titled Like a Good Neighbor, a collaborative track featuring multiple Notes for Notes youth. Big thank you to State Farm for their generosity and support.
A group that always sticks together, a family no matter what.
Remember you're covered whenever you need a favor. Someone who has your back forever, helps you out when in a rut. They'll always show up whenever. That's a good neighbor. That's a good neighbor. Like a good neighbor.